So we're starting. Oh, recording now. Okay. Just want to remind people to sign up and log in their books for the summer reading program in our Beanstack program. If you attend 3 different programs and log those in, you can be entered into a chance to win a gift card to a Worcester restaurant. Since we're not unable to do a live presentation at the sanctuary, I went there and recorded a few videos that I'll share with you, as well as telling you the stories of some of the residents at Sunny Meadow. We'll start off with a few videos of Helen and Steve Rashick, the incredibly kind and caring people who started and run the sanctuary. Before I start, I do want to warn you that I'm much better at cleaning stalls than I am at using Zoom. And for this reason, I'll ask that you hold your questions until the end, at least of like a video when I'm talking, or to the end of the program. You can put it in chat if you're like me and you might forget. And we'll be sure to get to questions at the end. I'm going to start a video soon, so hold on.
So go into the video, like the actual video, and open it.
Oh, I have to share it then to open it.
Yes, you have to open it and it'll be on your screen, and then you can share that exact screen.
Hello and welcome to Sunny Meadow Sanctuary. It's a beautiful June day and we're here and we want to show you around. This is located on 15 acres in Barre, Massachusetts, and we've been here as a sanctuary since 2007. We first started, there was only the house and one outbuilding, and no fencing. And now we have, as you'll see when you look around, there are
Katherine, we can't see the video.
Smaller outbuildings. There are several.
All we see is your Explorer screen.
Pastures for multiple different species of animals. We've had up to 10 different species of farmed animals here. Right now there are.
Okay, now go into screen share, like you're sharing your screen.
Oh, should I stop?
Yeah, and then, okay, now go into screen share.
Here?
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, here.
There we go. And then click share. Okay, you're good.
Okay, can you see the screen
Yep.
on there now? Okay,
good.
thank you.
Hello and welcome to Sunny Meadow Sanctuary. It's a beautiful June day and we're here and we want to show you around. This is located on 15 acres in Barre, Massachusetts, and we've been here as a sanctuary since 2007. We first started, there was only the house and one outbuilding, and no fencing. And now we have, as you'll see when you look around, there are 5 different barns and several smaller outbuildings. There are about 5 acres fenced, and pastures for multiple different species of animals. We've had up to 10 different species of farmed animals here. Now there are.
How you doing?
Donkey, cow, horse, many goats, sheep, pigs, and there's a rabbit and an aquatic turtle in the house. We started in 2007 when Helen saw a sign at our local feed store for home for 2 goats, which we recruited some friends and modified our one existing outbuilding and built some fencing, and soon we had 2 goats and we're off and running. In 2010 we had the large barn, the 2-story barn, which you'll see built, and then starting in 2010 and 2014 we either built with volunteer help or had paid professionals to build 5 different buildings, some of which then had attachments built onto them, and we fenced pastures for about 5 or 6 different pastures at that time. And we've done all this with volunteer labor and with donations from volunteers. And it's really worked out quite well in terms of people have really always stepped forward and helped us out anytime we had problems and made appeals to people. They came through very generously and have helped considerably to allow the hundreds of animals who've lived here to have a free and safe existence.
I want to talk a little bit about the animals that we have rescued over the many years we've been doing this. Most of our animals are from Massachusetts or Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, the local kind of New England area. And one of the questions that we get from people very often is, well, what's the difference between a sanctuary and a farm, or a sanctuary and a petting zoo? And there are lots of differences between a sanctuary and those other places. With the farms, the point of a farm that has animals is to get those animals from birth to slaughter as fast as you possibly can, and that is your goal. So everything revolves around that, because what you're doing is you're having the animals there to make money, and so there are lots of corners that are cut. There are lots of animals who get sick, and with a petting zoo, which may not seem quite as bad, and probably isn't quite as bad, there's still that need to make money from the animals, and petting zoos mostly want very young animals, babies in fact. So when the babies are born, they're very cute and loving and easy to handle, and that first summer they're lots of fun for kids and parents who come to visit. But then in the winter, those animals are really going to just take up money. So often all those babies are killed, and the parents of those babies are just going to have more babies in the spring. So it's sort of like this awful circle that happens. So on a sanctuary, we do not do any breeding at all. If we bred animals, we wouldn't be able to rescue as many, because farm animals require a lot of space, both in barns and in pastures and paddocks. So that's like a very major difference, is that we do not breed animals, and therefore we don't have surplus extra animals that we can't take care of. So that's an incredibly huge difference that most people don't intuitively know. When we rescue an animal when we first bring an animal in, the animal often has many health problems. If they're babies, they have all kinds of parasites and illnesses that young animals get, especially on farms that are very crowded. And most farms that we have been to are very crowded. The conditions are very bad, nothing like what we provide here. And when those animals come into the sanctuary, they often require a lot of vet care, which is extremely expensive, as everyone knows. And it takes a huge effort to get them to be well and healthy. The younger the animal is, up to a point, the harder it is. But that is a huge expense for us, and something that we just will not cut corners on. We have rescued animals from many places, and most of the farms that we have rescued animals from are small local farms. They're not the huge farms that you find in the South or out West. These are smaller farms, and the farmers have to be very frugal in their farming practices in order to make any money. And the way they do that is by crowding animals together, not providing vet care, all the possibilities that lead to the animals getting as sick as they do, as they are when we first get them. So that's an issue that's always ongoing for us. And some animals carry those conditions all through their life. And we do not adopt out a lot of animals because it's very difficult to find safe homes for farm animals. It's almost impossible in Massachusetts, especially because there aren't that many people who can provide barns and pastures that are big enough to fulfill the needs of farm animals.
Daily care begins early in the morning with getting the animals their morning hay and making sure everybody made it through the night okay, that they're safe and protected, but someone might get some kind of minor injury in the night, and we want to make sure that nothing like that's happened. And then we clean up any manure or animal waste we find, and that usually requires taking at least 3 wheelbarrows a day to our manure pile, and then every weekend volunteers come and clean out each barn completely, kind of strip it down to the floor, sweep it up, clean it well, and restock it with clean shavings and clean water. Make sure their food bowls are clean. There's a lot of food prep, which Helen does in the kitchen, of cutting up fruits and vegetables that the animals get as treats, and also providing small amounts of grain that they get to supplement their hay. And there's just a lot of moving about and hauling of hay and shavings. As a way of thinking about it, we get something like 1,500 40 to 50 pound bales of hay a year, which have to be delivered and then stocked and then taken to various barns. And we get probably, to keep their barns clean, another 12 or 1,300 40 to 50 pound bales of wood shavings, which serve as their bedding. So there's a lot of physical labor that goes on, along with the fencing, which occurred when we originally got the animals, and then there's always repairs of that fencing, restocking their food and water, cleaning up any kind of problems we find, and making sure that the animals have a very clean, safe environment. And we've done, I think, a pretty good job of keeping up with that. We have a lot of very wonderful, very dedicated volunteers who've come for years, and new ones who come and then just start coming every week. And they really make our job a lot easier by providing an enormous amount of help while having a good time doing it.
As Steve was saying, this all takes an enormous amount of work, but it also takes an enormous amount of money. And we are so fortunate to have donors who support us and who have supported us from the beginning, and also many who have just started and volunteer for the first time or come to a tour and then decide to become supporters of the sanctuary. Because without them, there would be no sanctuary. There would be the hundreds of animals that we have rescued over the years would all be dead, quite frankly. So we just can't thank our supporters enough.
Now this video is just a little bit of the sanctuary, so you can see how beautiful, serene, and clean the environment is. You will see some poop in the videos with the animals, of course, because they poop as soon as you clean. It's just a given with the animals. That's the pig barn. You'll often see little chipmunks scurrying around the ground, and bunnies too. They have a lot of wild rabbits there. They work with some wildlife rehabilitators, so when The bunnies that they get are able to be released. They will often be brought up to the sanctuary, and they have bunny houses, multiple bunny houses, as well as food and bedding available and water. Okay, I'm going to go to the next video.
So open it.
See it, are they?
No.
Oops. Sorry about this. I'm having a little bit of technical
So
difficulties.
go to the video for there. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. Can people see this video?
Mhm.
Okay. This is Cisco is the Mustang and Nellie is the donkey. I'll be sharing their stories now. Cisco was born wild and free on U.S. government land in Nevada 25 years ago. Twice a year, herds of wild Mustangs are captured in the most violent and cruel manner by the Bureau of Land Management. Many of the babies and older horses can't keep up with the helicopter-driven roundup, fall to the ground and die. Surviving horses are put into holding pens. Babies that survive are separated from the mothers, branded and ear twitched, and the horses are sold. The vast majority are shipped to Canada or Mexico for slaughter. All this horror happens so the Bureau of Land Management can lease the publicly owned land for practically nothing to cattle ranchers for the beef industry. This is why Mustang suffering is part of the overall farm and animal suffering. They too are victims of the cruel, greedy, and unnecessary animal agricultural industry. After his being the victim of one of the roundups, how Cisco came to the East is a mystery to us. But at least some of his history in Massachusetts has been documented because he became a victim in a police case. We know the people who bought him before we became part of his life made him pull heavy carts for town parades for a long time. He suffered a cracked hoof that was no doubt the result of that, and has caused him pain and infections ever since. We are still fighting that injury and probably always will. On the farm, Cisco lived in a barn with another horse, and one day in the first week of December 2010, his owner let them out of the barn, closed the door, and never let them back in. That was a terribly harsh winter. When the horses were finally rescued in March, it was too late for Cisco's friend, who had died after the police came to check out a complaint from a caring person about 2 horses who had been left to starve to death in a paddock covered in feet of snow. One was described as a standing skeleton. The other is lying still on the frozen ground. Cisco, the standing skeleton, was standing stoically at the downed horse's side. Most likely he survived because of his wild genetics, but he was severely underweight and wouldn't live much longer. When Cisco came to Sunny Meadow Sanctuary, he was so thin that the amount of grain he would need to regain weight would be dangerous for him, so we had to feed him oil to pack on the pounds. But that wasn't our only challenge. Cisco now hated and feared people. He was so full of fear and anger at the way he had been treated all those years that he wasn't going to let any human get close to him again. Every time Helen came in to visit him in his stall, he would rear up on his hind legs, buck, and charge to threaten her. Helen was very patient with this wounded soul. She would spend time every day with him, simply telling him stories about her life in a quiet, calm voice. About 3 weeks after he arrived, she was telling him what she describes as her most boring story. But maybe that boring story was what finally helped Cisco realize he would never be harmed again. In the middle of the story, he stopped rearing up, put his head down, walked over to Helen, and rested his head on her shoulder. They both sighed a sigh of relief. Tears came to Helen's eyes. Cisco decided to trust. Cisco's days of being abused are hopefully just a distant memory to him. He lives with his best friend Nellie the donkey. He absolutely adores Nell, and we're sure he would die to protect her. He loves grazing, being groomed, and volunteers visits, especially if they bring him berry cookies. Nellie, oops, sorry, hold on. I guess my talk went a little bit longer than that video did, so I'm just going to go back again. and let you watch these two beauties while I talk about Nellie. Nellie's a standard donkey. She's 15 years old and had a very hard life before coming to Sunny Meadow. She lived on a farm where she was beaten severely to force her to work. Eventually, her owner decided he didn't want her anymore, so she was taken to auction. Because she's so beautiful, she caught the eye of someone who decided to buy her and use her to make hinnies. A hinny is a rare and valuable offspring of a female donkey and a male horse. Alternately, a mule is a cross between a male donkey and a female horse. Because a donkey is smaller than a horse, this can be deadly for the donkey and the baby because the offspring is too big for the donkey to deliver safely. Poor Nellie was mated and impregnated many times, but never produced a baby. When her owners got rid of her because they couldn't get what they wanted, she came here to live at Sunny Meadow Sanctuary. She and Cisco arrived on the same day and immediately bonded. They're always together and spend their days relaxing in the pasture, grooming each other, and living their lives with love and dignity. Nellie's a scared and shy girl. It takes time and patience for her to trust people. Volunteers always feel special when she comes over to visit or takes a berry cookie out of their hands. It's such a privilege to love and care for Nellie. I have, through the years, I have only been able to pet Nellie for like a couple of pats, just a few times. But when I went to the sanctuary to do this filming, I had trouble with filming her because she kept coming over to me to be petted. It was very special for me, and it's something I'll never forget. All right, so now we're going on to the potbelly pigs. This is Maxwell, and I'll play him in the background. You'll also see Teddy, one of his roommates. Maxwell is from Brooklyn, New York. He got loose from somebody's backyard, and he was on the streets for a couple of weeks before he was finally caught by a woman who had a pig sanctuary. It's believed that he was being raised for food in someone's backyard since no one came forward to claim him as their pet. Maxwell came to Sunny Meadow Sanctuary where there would be more room for him to roam about. Maxwell always comes to say hello when I enter his yard. In the past, he was coming for some love and scratches and belly rubs. Lately, the pigs have been spoiled with treats of fresh vegetables from volunteers at the end of the workdays. So now he snubs me if I don't have any broccoli or other treats for him. He's still sweet. He hangs around. It's like he's kind of hoping for a little extra. So I'll be quiet and let you see the boys. These boys love belly rubs. As you can see, he just flopped right over. They don't have a lot of fur on them, but each of the hairs are very thick and coarse. And their skin very dry. They're kind of tough, and I think that's to protect their skin from the straw that they sleep in and all the other debris and round stuff that they encounter. Pretty soon you're going to be seeing Jeremiah, a black pig, and listen carefully because he makes really cute noises. There's some tail action for you. Okay, this is Chloe. I had trouble with filming for Chloe because I could not get too close to her. She gets upset when people are around too much, and she'll start banging her head against the fencing. So I was trying to hide and film her. Chloe's a 10-year-old doe, and she's been at Sunny Meadow Sanctuary for 8 years. Her story is a tragic one. She came from a farm in Massachusetts where she was horribly abused by one of the family members who would beat her over the head with a baseball bat. The abuse left her with brain damage. There are so many of our animals whose stories have great gaps, and Chloe's is no exception. We don't know how she was finally taken away from the family that was so cruel to her, but the second place she ended up was no better. Luckily, one of our volunteers, who was also volunteering at a horse rescue, saw Chloe on a neighboring farm and inquired about her. She could see that Chloe was not cared for either. She was very neglected and her stall was dirty. Our volunteer even offered to change the bedding and hay herself, but the owners refused. Chloe's owner said that he was tired of her difficult behavior caused by the brain damage and was going to send her to auction, which was most likely mean that she was going to be slaughtered. Unfortunately for Chloe, she did have a year-old that the farmer refused to surrender. But since she was going to go to auction no matter what, we knew it was the right thing to take her. It wasn't long after she got to Sunny Meadow that we realized how severely the beatings had affected her. She would repeatedly bang her head on the fence. She would get lost going back to the barn at night, and her friend Braveheart had to help her find her way. Just like humans, animals have different responses to trauma. Some forgive and want to be best friends, but others have lost all trust and want to be left alone. With the exception of Steve, who she's not afraid of, Chloe is the latter. She will walk to the fence and say hello every now and again, but that's about the limit of her tolerance for humans. Humans trigger the head banging. We respect that and respect and love Chloe. She is free to make her choice about who she wants to let into her closest circle, which are Braveheart and Fred. Although Chloe will always be afraid of humans, she does look lovingly down at us when she's on her special walk on the ledges that the goats love. Chloe is safe now and can live out her days hopping up and down on rocks, holding long braids of grass between her teeth and enjoying the sun and fresh air.
Braveheart, you can see his pants. He's got his big furry pants on.
Yeah, that's Braveheart. I don't know if you could hear me saying that he's wearing his furry pants. I don't know why, but he's like the only one where his fur grows long like that. And this is Fred.
Hey, Fred. Hey, Chloe.
And of course, Chloe. Okay, hang on just a second, and I'm going to bring up the next video.
So go back to stop screen share. Share screen. So is it that one thing?
No, that's
Hi, guys.
hold on.
On the far left,
She's Maple. She's the one without horns. And then the one that looks like
Maple with horns
hold on just
walking.
a second. Okay, let's start again.
Hi, guys. On the far left, we have Maple. She's the one without horns. And then the one that looks like Maple with horns walking is Banjo. Behind there is Timothy, the white and the reddish brown. And let's see who else we can find. Oh, here's Patches. Patches is actually Maple's son. You'd think that Banjo was, but Patches is. We've got a few others in this area that I'll try to find in a minute. Well, we've got Lily and Summer. Hi, Summer. Hi, honey. Hi, cutie. Hi, Lily. Lily. Oh, Lily. He's so cute. I just have to find Alfie. I don't know where Alfie is right now. Oh, here's sweet little Alfie. She's not doing well health-wise. They've got some blood tests out with the vet to determine exactly what's going on with her. She's lost a lot of weight, poor little girl. But Helen and Steve love her very much, and they're doing everything they can to take care of her.
Hi, Doc.
This is Doc. Couldn't see it. Oh, here comes Gabe. He's pushy. Gotta watch out for Gabe. He thinks he's in charge of everything. Doc is very sweet. And when I'm cleaning up in their, oh, here's Jude. So when I'm cleaning up in their yard, sometimes Doc will just come along right up behind me and just start rubbing his head all up and down my back. It's really cute. This is Jude. He's blind now, but he gets around all right. Here's Jacob. He was shorn a few weeks before this video was taken. He's a shy ram, of course, but he's, you know, when there's not too many people around, he comes for pets. He lives with Sammy, who is a brother of Gabe and Jude that you just saw. Sammy can be pretty pushy, so I couldn't really film him because he started pushing me around. You'll see why this video ends. Sammy had something go wrong. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was basically unable to walk. This was years ago. Spent a lot of time at Tufts, and they were trying to figure out, you know, what was going on with him. He had a problem with his spine, and his body just kind of grew this protective covering over his spine. You can see like a lump on his neck, and the vets pretty much say that's what, you know, saved him, and it's a bit of a miracle. They don't know why it happened. So that's why Sammy lives with Jacob the ram rather than his brothers, because the way the goats, you know, will kind of fight and with each other, you know, banging heads and stuff. It's a little too dangerous for Sammy. This is Abby. She was a dairy cow. She was actually very fortunate because she came from a family farm, and she had not, if I'm remembering right, she had not been bred yet. So she didn't have to go through those horrors of having a child taken away and being milked. Okay, does anyone have any questions? You're welcome to unmute yourselves and ask questions, or put it in the chat.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the process for volunteering at Sunny Meadows in general, and then now during COVID, if there's something different, or yeah.
So they have work days a few times a month. Lately, it's been most Saturdays. They send out a schedule every month, and they send out reminder at the beginning of the week. If you'd like to get on the mailing list, I am going to post in the chat in a little while their email address, as well as the website address for the sanctuary. And you can get in touch with them if you'd like. What they usually do is it's a few hours in the afternoon of cleaning stalls and cleaning up poop. During COVID, they stopped doing the vegan potluck dinners at the end, but they are starting that up again. At the moment, they are only doing taking volunteers who are vaccinated out of concern for all the volunteers, as well as Steve and Helen's health. They want to make sure that they're healthy enough to take care of the animals, and also for the animals, since there have been some animals who have contracted COVID in the past. I don't know. The veterinarians do not offer any pro bono healthcare. They charge just like they would for farms.
Hi, I have a question. So if you see a farm animal out and about that looks like they're not good or being treated badly, who do you call? What's the process of that? And there are people out there like scouring Massachusetts trying to find these abused animals, and it seems like one of the stories you told, it was hard to get the animal away from some of them. Can you describe like that process and what happens and how to do it? And
I don't know too much about it because I haven't been involved with it myself. I know that there are some organizations out there that will help. You can report it to MSPCA, of course. You can try to get in touch with the local animal control for your town. I know like Helen and Steve do have people, who are aware of the sanctuary or who volunteer, who do approach them and ask them for advice and help in how to get an animal out of a bad situation. Sometimes it just takes asking, and other times, they just don't want to, let out their animals because, it's about profit. You're welcome to write to Helen and Steve with more questions on that. I'm sorry, I don't know enough to give you more information.
no, that was great, Katherine. Thank you. And can you tell us about maybe one of your best experiences volunteering there? One of the best days that you had, or something that touched you while you were there?
I think the things that touch me the most when I'm there are when the animals who have been very shy and fearful begin to trust and allow us to pet them. Jacob the ram was like that. Sheep tend to be kind of nervous and scared to begin with. And when Jacob first let me pet him, I was like Helen with Cisco, with tears in my eyes, feeling very, very special that he began to trust me. And with most of the animals that are nervous, when there's not a lot of people around, they do a lot better. So what I'll often do is like at the end of a work day, I'll head back over to where Jacob lives, and I'll go over and see if I can say hi to him, because he won't come around when there's a bunch of people around. And also too, while we're cleaning the barns and their yards, they are put into different yards and fields and separated off, because some of them are not helpful. Some of the goats will try to climb into the wheelbarrows. They'll try to push us around, like Gabe especially, and Sammy. So which can be funny, but it's also a little frustrating at times. So.
Thank you. What a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katherine, I have a question.
Yeah.
You may have already answered this, but is it open to the public at all to come in and meet any of the animals, or could people make an appointment to come in?
Prior to the COVID happening, they were doing some tours of the sanctuary. There was, like they asked for, a donation for it because it does take a lot of their time. So people were able to schedule tours with them. I don't know if that will be happening again or when it will start up, but people can contact them. It's, like she said before, it's not like a petting zoo or anything like that where people can go just to be entertained. It's a place for the animals to live in a healthy, safe, happy environment where they should not have to be afraid of anyone, except of course the vet and the farrier. They're always afraid of them. But so it's more geared towards people who are coming to help the animals, as well as to learn about them. And, like, obviously, you can pet the ones that want to be petted.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question. So you mentioned before, Helen and Steve only accepting people with vaccinations so that they could be, remain healthy to take care of the animals. And also there was mention of the enormous amount of money that it takes to run this type of thing. So I imagine both those things are true for other rescues. So I'm just curious, in the event that people who run these rescues do become ill and can't take care of the animals, or for some reason there's just not people donating or whatever, is there is there a kind of a support network between these rescues where they would help one another, or is it just something like they just have faith that the money's going to come in and the people are going to show up and take care of the animals? Or
I don't know if they have any kind of a network between them. I do know that they have worked in conjunction with other sanctuaries. There was a time when a mink was harassing them and attacking their chickens and the ducks. And Helen and Steve were reinforcing everything and putting these, the animals in their basement, which is a nice basement, so don't worry too much. But it became too much, and they felt as though they could not have a safe environment while this mink was still around. So they did contact a sanctuary for ducks, and that sanctuary took their last duck. They felt he would be better off with other ducks, and they did not want to add any more birds because they felt at that point they couldn't keep them safe enough. They also had the chickens go and stay at a sanctuary for chickens that was started by someone who had previously been a volunteer at Sunny Meadow and fell in love with chickens there and started her own sanctuary. So I think they do try to work together, as well as Maxwell, the potbelly pig. He was brought from another sanctuary to live at Sunny Meadow because there was more room for him. So they were working with that other sanctuary. I would hope that if sanctuaries were in a position to help another one, that they would. But I think a lot of it is just hoping and being having faith that the money will come in from somewhere when needed. And I think that there are quite a few dedicated Sunny Meadow volunteers that would do whatever they could if Helen and or Steve were to become ill and needed a lot more help than they currently do.
Thank you.
So I'm going to attempt to put those links I was telling you about into the chat. So hang on just a second. Okay, so the links are in there now. The first link is to Beanstack, which is our the software that we use for our summer reading program. So you can sign up, you can add your titles in there. The second link that says Project Outcome is a survey that you can fill out about the program today and give us some feedback of what you thought of it and what else you might be interested in seeing. The third link is to the adult classes and programs that are going on, and that will allow you to see what other things you might be interested in viewing or classes taking. The next three links are, well, two links are the website for Sunny Meadow Sanctuary, their email address, and their Facebook page. They're also on Instagram, and the volunteer that takes care of the Instagram account gets really great pictures, and she also sings to the animals and plays her ukulele, which is really great. And Teddy, one of the pot-bellied pigs, the one that was letting me rub his belly, he absolutely loves to have the ukulele played and him being sung to. He just goes right up to her and just listens to her, and you can just see it in his face. He's having a great time. And I think there's videos of that on Facebook and probably on the Instagram too. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed some of the videos of these animals and learned a little something about the life of farm animals on a sanctuary and some of the unfortunate events of their lives before the sanctuary. Oh, there's a little message here, so hold on. Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was a question, so thank you, Dot. Okay, I guess that will be the end if there are no more questions. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to participate in our summer reading program. Thank you.
Thank
Thank-
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you very much.